Hi, so I'm Charlie. I started PickCode. It's a site for schools to teach computer science, and so I'm really into computer science and learning to code, and I think everybody should do it. And so, the point of this presentation is kind of to convince you that learning to code is a good idea, and it's still a good idea, even though it's August 2025 and there's AI and all this stuff that people are kind of worried about. But I think we'll figure out that you're actually in the right spot. So I'm writing this as benefits of this class. Like, this is about to be your first day of learning computer science at high school or college or whatever. Maybe it isn't, but you can use your imagination. Imagine this is your first day of class. So why are we trying to learn to code? What's the point? So I think we would all agree that computers are something that are really important, and we kind of use them a lot. And I'll be a little bit sarcastic while I'm doing this. I don't want to be too serious. But computers are like very important, and they're very good, and we all like using them. And coding is one of the best ways to get better at using the computer. You're going to do some complicated stuff. You're going to figure out a little bit about how computers work, and that's going to be pretty helpful. Learning to code is also about learning to build cool stuff. So, when you get started, you're not going to build cool stuff. It might take a little while. You're going to have to learn the basics first. And it might be a little bit of a slog, it might be a little boring, but eventually, and if you stick with it, you're going to learn to make really cool stuff. And eventually you can make whatever you want. So whatever you're interested in, if you're interested in, doesn't really matter. Even if you want to be a scientist or something completely unrelated to coding, learning to code allows you to just be better at everything and, make stuff that'll be helpful for you, whatever your career ends up being. Last benefit of this class is that coding can actually be super frustrating. There's a lot of situations where you write code and it doesn't work and you have to fix it. And that is actually a good thing. And it's going to be an entire slide here. So I'll read it. Anyone who has ever done anything cool has been frustrated. And then there's a little swearing emoji guy. But this is really true, right? If you take your favorite sports player, they spent a lot of time being really bad and they had to get over it. Or your actor, actress, movie star, musician, whatever, they were really bad for a really long time and they had to deliberately practice to get good at the thing that they wanted to get good at. And coding is just an example of that. So even if you don't see yourself as someone who's going to code professionally forever, or you don't think this is really for you, first of all, give it a try and see if you actually like it. Second of all, just get into it. Just get into the practice of practicing and the practice of being frustrated and getting over it. Because whatever you do after this class, even if you never code ever again in your whole life, just being frustrated and getting over it is like one of the most important skills that you could possibly learn, regardless of what you do, period, ever afterwards. And so coding is just like, I say it that you're going to get frustrated, not to like scare you away, but it's annoying. Like, I don't know. I've done it for a while. I've had days where it's just sort of annoying. And you learn to just power through and get over it. And that like kind of perseverance is really like the most important skill you can learn. Can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so it is August 2025. And so you've seen on the news or you've seen on TikTok or what, I don't know. I don't know where people get their news these days, but AI, right? AI is going to take all of our jobs, and AI knows how to code, and it's going to do all the coding for you. And actually, the best thing that AI is good for is for coding, and there's going to be no more coding jobs or whatever. That's not true. So we'll get into a little bit about how AI works and how AI businesses work in a second, but I'll tell you right now, AI isn't that good at coding. And so I have a ChatGPT window open over here, and we're going to ask GPT, we're going to do a little interview with ChatGPT and ask it like what it thinks about its own coding abilities and why you might want to learn to code. So we'll ask it itself and see what ChatGPT has to say. And I even have GPT-5, which is the new one. And what I'll say is they just came out with a new one. They just came out with GPT-5, and I've tested it, and a lot of people have tested it. It's like a little bit better. And so there was kind of this thing for a few years where people thought that AI was just going to get like super duper good and it was going to be like Einstein and really it was going to take all of our jobs. And that's really not happening. I think that we've learned even in the past like 6 months that the progress is kind of slowing down and it's only as good as it is. And anyone who's telling you that AI is like super duper smart and can just do everything, they're probably trying to sell you something, which we'll get into in a little bit of seconds. Okay, but how does AI work? So this is a little bit of education. People talk about AI literacy. So here's our AI literacy section. How does AI work? You probably know this, but they just go through the whole internet and every book that's ever been made, and they give it to the AI. And then people who do a bunch of math stuff, mathematicians basically, come up with a bunch of formulas and things to make it so that they turn all of those words in the whole world that have ever been written, turn them into a bunch of numbers, basically. I have friends who do this, and they would say this is actually a pretty good summary. Turn all the words into a bunch of numbers. Okay, that's step one. Step two is like do a bunch of formulas so that you learned in 8th grade probably a bit about probability. So they make all the numbers good so that at the end, when you ask a question, they're just rolling the dice, really. They're just picking words at random, but they've done the math so that the randomness works out so that usually the AI writes something or gives you code that makes sense. And this is like insanely cool. The fact that they were able to do this at all and that this works is one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. But at the end of the day, that's how it works. And it's not like magic, right? They just give it a bunch of text, turn it into numbers, do some math, do some probability stuff, and then they roll the dice. And the answer you get is the answer you get. And it might be different every time. And that's kind of a problem because that means that if you roll a dice and it's bad, you might lose, like you might get a bad answer. So when they talk about hallucinations or all this kind of stuff, it's because there's actually a bunch of randomness involved. So how does an AI company work? I think this is something that is underlooked as we're worrying about all this stuff is like the companies that make ChatGPT or Claude or the other ones, they are companies and they need to make money. And so how do they make money? Maybe you get the free plan and you're actually not paying for anything. But a lot of these AI companies, they're charging for it, right? And they're charging for it and they hope that people use it and they hope that they stick around. So they make it really interesting and exciting for you to use it. So they make it so that the AI, says helpful stuff and sounds very helpful and is very nice to you. And then they'll also say when they're doing their marketing, they'll say, AI can do anything you want. You can build your whole dreams. You can build your whole company and you can do anything you want using AI. And they're doing that because they're selling you something, right? If someone's making a promise and they're a company and they sell stuff, they kind of have an incentive to tell you that it's really good. If you invent a new candy bar, you're going to say that it's the best candy bar that's ever been invented, right? You're not going to say it's okay, and it kind of sometimes tastes bad. But AI kind of does sometimes taste bad when it screws up and messes up your code or whatever. So I use AI for stuff, and it actually is super helpful. So you should learn about AI, and after you learn to code, maybe it is something that you use in your job or later, and it is helpful to you, but you need to be a little bit wary. They're going to tell you that you don't need to learn anything and you can just hop in and code and make anything happen. You try and make a cool video game, you're not going to make Call of Duty by asking the AI for it. And we'll do that a little bit in a second. We'll ask in our ChatGPT conversation if it believes that it can. And it would be, I actually don't know what it's going to say. I'm going to put it in a temporary chat. It's not going to know anything about what's going on. And if it says that it can do Call of Duty, that would be very interesting. But I imagine it'll say no. So I'm going to leave it on this. Before we get into our interview with ChatGPT, the last thing I want to say in this little presentation is coding is actually really fun. So I mentioned the frustrating part. But one of the things that kind of gets me fired up about people saying AI is going to make it so that nobody has to code is I've had a lot of fun coding for the past however long I've been doing it since college. And I wouldn't want people to lose the opportunity to do that because I think it's just a super fun activity. I've, made, a career out of it. And so I have made some money on coding because I've had jobs, but that isn't the fun part really. The fun part is coming up with ideas and making stuff and seeing them be real. And in the past few years, right, I've been able to have my own whole company because me and my friends were able to code up something that works for schools and it's an interesting thing. And we had to write all the code and we did actually use some AI to answer some questions and it was actually pretty helpful. But The AI didn't write the code. We did. And so, that's how we got it done. But we had a lot of fun along the way, and it's like cool. I mentioned being frustrated, but once you get used to it, it's cool to be frustrated and to overcome it and to get better and improve your skills. Like, super cool. So let's ask ChatGPT a couple things here. I'm a high schooler about to take my first CS class. In 3 quick bullet points, what are the benefits? So it might disagree with me. We'll see what it says. Oh, I need to put this in a temporary chat because it knows stuff about me. Okay, so it's a temporary chat. Doesn't know anything about my life. Doesn't know there's no custom instructions here. I didn't game the system. Here are 3. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Basically agrees. Problem solving superpowers. Okay, so again, I hate talking to ChatGPT sometimes because just use normal words. Like, just talk normal, all right? You don't have to say superpowers. It's always exaggerating, and it does the stupid dashes too, so that makes me mad. But so you're going to learn to do problem solving stuff. So that's kind of what I'm talking about being frustrated and getting over it. Creativity, you can build things from games to apps and see them work or hilariously fail right away. So I don't know why it's being weird, but it thinks you're a high schooler. So it's like trying to talk like a kid. Hate kids. Anyways, future-proofing skills. So yeah, you're going to learn more about computers. Okay, cool. And so I'll say, what about AI? Couldn't I just ask AI to make anything I want? Let's see. AI can generate code, but without knowing the basics, you won't know if it's correct, efficient, or secure. There you go. If you understand coding, you can tweak, optimize, debug. Knowing how things works lets you push AI further, turning it from magic trick to blah, 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 blah. If you want, I can... Okay, don't be condescending, all right? We're smart enough people. We don't need to talk about bicycles and electric scooters, GPT. It's okay. Do you think I could make Call of Duty without knowing how to code and just asking AI? Realistically, no, not even close. Okay. So GPT's on the same page as us, right? So we could talk to GPT for hours, and it's always kind of fun, but it gets it, right? You can't do stuff that is that complicated, all right? You need to know how to do stuff. So it says AI can help make small games much faster, but without coding knowledge, building something at the scale, making something really complicated is crazy hard. So thank you, GPT, for your input here, and I'll leave it at this. Again, thanks for watching this video, and I hope that you have fun with your coding.